Came on Monday, I saw the email.
We are going to open the open mic session, which is designed to provide an opportunity for citizens to express their views on matters of concern to the school committee. The sessions are not designed to encourage debate or lengthy exchange of views, but are to have the committee understand numerous points of view. The committee would appreciate speakers keeping their presentation to 3 minutes in order to accommodate as many people as time permits. The chair reserves the right to limit the number of speakers on the same topic to 3.
Why don't you leave yours unmuted so I can hear everything?
Sorry.
No, not at all.
Hey, Dr. Tiffany.
The House speakers must be at least 18 years of age or enrolled in high school in the Lynn Public Schools District, and having discussed their views with a student government representative, the chair reserves the right to rule the speaker out of order if he or she feels that the speaker's comments are personal in nature. If a speaker's comments are directed at a school committee member or member of school administration in attendance, that member, through the chair, may address the individual. The sessions will promptly commence 15 minutes prior to the start of the regular school committee meeting. Just state your name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Sheila O'Neill. I'm president of the Lynn Teachers Union, and I live at 200 Locust Street in Lynn. Good evening. We are here this evening to bring to your attention the disgraceful conditions our educators and students are learning in this winter in our school buildings. We have had a lack of heat in several buildings, Druitt's, Pickering, Beck O'Leary, and also conflicting heat in many other buildings, some hot, some cold. On Friday, February 3rd, 2023, the frigid temperatures at the Druitt's Elementary were below 50 degrees in some classrooms and over 80 in others. Over the weekend, without notice to teachers or to the principal, workers entered the buildings in 8 classrooms and covered the windows with thick plastic to block the incoming cold air. The installers showed absolutely no respect for the educators' property or for the students' work displayed. They covered everything over, anchor charts, student work, and supplies using wooden slats, screws, and duct tape. The state classrooms were left in is absolutely unacceptable, not to mention less than a welcoming environment for our students. The City of Lynn must address the heating issue at Druitt's and the other buildings in our district immediately. Our staff and students deserve a safe and welcoming environment, as well as respect for our personal property and classroom materials. The Druitt's community deserves an apology for the damage caused and the disrespect displayed by the installers. I have included pictures of Druitt's. I have also given you a snapshot of a movie taken from Lincoln Thompson where a radiator is spouting hot water and it needs to be bled. These are just some of the other concerns. We also have a classroom at Breed that the heat is so excessive that the teacher is now experiencing migraines and sinus and respiratory issues. Her health has been affected drastically. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Superintendent Ruggiero.
I just, do we have someone else who wants to speak?
Yeah, open mic.
Oh,
Okay.
I just want to read you something to the teachers who are here, the staff that are here. I had already intended in my superintendent report to publicly apologize from us, and so I'd like to read that to you, if you don't mind. I would like to publicly apologize to the teachers who were impacted by the disruption to their classroom with the heat and materials. Our jobs as educators are never easy, and having interruption to that role makes it more difficult. The city and school department always works together to make every effort to ensure our buildings are cared for and running properly. Unfortunately, we all know our buildings are very old and difficult to maintain at times. The city knows this and works very hard to try to provide solutions to resolve these issues. We will continue to work together to provide solutions to the heating issues, the communication process, and quick resolutions wherever possible. Again, we're not trying to make your job more difficult or harder than it already is. And we all agree that our students and staff deserve educational spaces that are appropriate.
Anyone else wish to speak over mic? If you should share your name and address, please. Thank you.
Good evening. Sorry. Good evening. My name is Amanda Felice. I live at 58 Broad Street, and I am an EL teacher at the Robert L. Ford Elementary School. I have been at the Robert L. Ford Elementary School for about 8 years now. This is my 8th year. And the reason why I am here is to discuss the parking issue. In our contract, it does state that all of the buildings should provide parking, except Ford does not have parking. Now, in my own experience, my car has been hit 2 times since I've been at Ford. I've had to pay a deductible out of pocket that's not being reimbursed because nobody's left a note. But somebody did pick up the side mirror and was kind to put it on my car. I could name so many teachers that their car has been hit over the years. But really, in particular, what really brought me here today was the incident yesterday. Yesterday, 2 different teachers' cars got hit. One of them, it's the second time that her car got hit, no note. But what was really bad is the other person that their car got hit, they couldn't even drive home from work. Their car was hit so bad that it moved and she couldn't drive home from work. Now, could you imagine any of you leaving work and not being able to drive your car because parking wasn't provided, and you're trying to educate the students of the city? One of the solutions that I thought about, we do have a fire station very close by. We could possibly share some of that parking space. Ford students need a lot, and it's very difficult to retain excellent teachers when there's no parking and they're afraid that their cars are going to get hit. That's pretty much all I have to say. I know during COVID, the neighbors actually did a petition, and they made one of the streets that directly touches the school a resident-only street. So now teachers are getting tickets if they park down there. That's to add to the, that's to add to the other issues with the parking. An immediate solution does need to happen. We want the teachers to come to Ford, to come to work, and not be concerned with what's happening to their car outside. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, something we'll certainly be working on. Anyone else wishing to speak at open mic? Anyone else for open mic? Last call for open mic. We will close the open mic. Thank you. I'd like to call to order the 3rd regular meeting of the school committee. Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Present.
Member Capola?
Present.
Member Dugan?
Present.
Member Gately?
Present.
Member Magnolia? Present via Zoom. Member Pena?
Present.
Mayor Nicholson?
Present. Would also like to welcome back our student school committee representative, Victoria Samuel. If you could all please rise for a salute to the flag and remain standing for a moment of silence. Please remain standing for a moment of silence in memory of Josephine Mahoney, retired clerk, passed January 19th, 2023. Thank you. Next item is the minutes.
Make a motion to accept the minutes for the policy subcommittee meeting on January 26, 2023, the personnel subcommittee meeting on January 26, 2023, and the second regular meeting on January 26, 2023.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next is presentations, and we have some curriculum updates.
Yeah, so this is round 2 of our curriculum updates, and we have 2 phases within this round 2. So first up is ELA, early childhood, for elementary and secondary. And so we have Jackie Gallo, Michelle Winslow, and Allison Mosho Hamilton. And I'm going to then turn it over to you.
Right, hello, I'm Jacqueline Gallo, the Assistant Director of Curriculum and Instruction for Early Childhood. Thank you for the opportunity to highlight some of the important things that are happening in early childhood in the Lynn Public Schools, as well as the Lynn community. This presentation is really just a high-level glance. So if there's anything else that you would like to know more about, I'm happy to send anything along or come back for an additional presentation. For those of you who do not know, the Lynn Public Schools Coordinated Family and Community Engagement Program provides year-round programming for families with children birth to age 8. The program is offered by Lynn Public Schools and funded through a grant awarded by the Department of Early Education and Care for families residing in Lynn and Nahant. Kathleen Tarosian is the coordinator of the program and organizes all the parent and child play groups, story times, parent workshops, and council meetings. Some exciting changes for this year are that we have a new program space at 17 Atlantic Street. Here we host a number of parent-child play groups throughout the week that are designed for families with children 0 to 5 years of age. In addition to the groups at the Atlantic Street location, we also have weekly story times at the Lynn Public Library. We host one in Spanish and one in English every Friday. The CFCE also is partnering with Families First to offer a new virtual parent education program, The Power of Parenting. Last fall, we offered the course in Spanish, and this spring we are offering it in English. Thank you. And last on this slide, we have a permanent story walk coming to Lynn. I want to give a big shout out to the Lynn Tech Carpentry Department. The teacher, Kenneth Baudette, designed and implemented a lesson for his class to build the story walk boards. Kathy Tarosian and I met with the Lynn Parks and Recreation just last week, and they agreed on the installation of the story walk at Flax Pond Park this spring. So be on the lookout for an invitation for the opening. Okay, this slide is about the Parent Child Plus program. The program falls under the CFCE and is also funded by the Department of Early Ed and Care. This is a home visiting program with trained early learning specialists and is coordinated by Kathy Weston. This research-based early literacy program engages the parent as their child's first and most important teacher. Through the program, parents learn creative ways to read and play with their child to promote social and language development to prepare them to be ready and successful in school. We have a wait list of families interested in participating in the program and are looking to hire more early learning specialists to provide this incredible service to our community. I will be brief on this slide because I do believe I'm coming back in a month or so to give a full presentation on this new grant. So, but I want to give you a little bit of information. So Lynn was awarded the Commonwealth Preschool Partnership Initiative grant. The focus of this grant is to sustain a preschool program that meets the quality requirements of the grant, expands access to 3- and 4-year-old children, is aligned with the community's birth to grade 3 strategic plan, addresses family needs effectively, and serves high needs and underserved local populations. Through collaboration with the core leadership team and our advisory team, we are in the process of designing and piloting a program that is focused on the grant's 3 priority strands: expansion of access to affordable quality preschool, building locally aligned quality, and equitable access to special education and inclusion. Akeisha Lewis is our newly hired coordinator for this grant. She brings a strong background in early childhood and is quickly learning the components of the grant. Hopefully you'll be meeting her soon. For this next slide, I wanted to highlight Lynn Public Schools' partnership with Springboard Collaborative. Springboard is an after-school and summer tutoring program that is focused on family engagement and literacy skill development. Springboard's core methodology is the Family Educator Learning Accelerator. It is a 5 to 10 week learning accelerator during which teachers and families team up to help students meet their reading goals. The Lynn Public Schools partnered with Springboard to accelerate student learning, especially after the disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, while also building the capacity of Lynn Public Schools to sustain these high-quality family educator partnerships. Before programming begins, teachers participate in a professional development to learn the Family Educator Learning Accelerator framework. Teachers learn how to utilize family engagement strategies, conduct successful family workshops, and collect data using literacy assessments. After professional development, teachers, families, and students participate in a team-building huddle to build a foundation of trust and a strong working relationship. At the start of the programming, teachers build partnerships with families and assess students to set reading goals that guide targeted small group instruction for students. Leaders are also equipped by Springboard's internal team to coach teachers through professional learning communities on content varying from data-driven instruction to hosting family workshops. The Lynn Public Schools hosts workshops that help adult family members read with their child purposefully and ask questions as they support their child to understand what they read, figure out new words, and read more fluently and engage with the reading process. Students practice reading on their own, with family members at home and at family workshops, and with their teachers through small group instruction. Teachers measure students' reading progress using the Renaissance Star Early Literacy Reading Assessments at the beginning and end of programming to inform instruction and measure growth in reading. Here is another very exciting partnership that I'm thrilled to tell you about. It's called EXCEL. It stands for Exceptional Coaching for Early Language and Literacy. This is a web-based professional development program for pre-K educators of children who speak a language other than English at home and children who are monolingual English speakers, excuse me. EXCEL trains teachers to use high-quality research-based strategies to improve the language and literacy skills of the children in their classroom. We have our first cohort of educators this year. This includes teachers and paraprofessionals. They participate in this feedback loop where educators engage in modules, practice strategies, record their lessons, and meet with coaching staff throughout the process. Then the last few slides provide an update on the pre-K to grade 2 interdisciplinary units. In pre-K, we are in year 2 of implementation. Last spring, a team from Lynn Public Schools participated in a training from the American Institute for Research in collaboration with Massachusetts Department of Early Ed and Care and the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Our team included pre-K teachers, ESL specialists, ELA coaches, Julie Ward, who's one of our math directors, as well as Leanne Palmer, one of our special ed directors. This training was on the Massachusetts preschool curriculum review process. Using the resources provided through the training, our team was able to vet components of our pre-K interdisciplinary unit curriculum. This summer, we will participate in a full vetting and revision process, including community-based educators and additional stakeholders. In kindergarten, it is also year 2 of implementation of the MAPs. The mapping team worked over the summer to revise based on previous year's feedback from teachers. One adjustment we are working on now is incorporating English language development into the SEI map. And then for grades 1 and 2, we are in our first year of implementation. Our feedback loop for this year consists of surveys for teachers after each unit, which asks teachers for their feedback on specific components of the maps and on types of supports teachers may need for successful implementation. Grade 1 and Grade 2 revisions will be made over the summer based on feedback from this current school year. And lastly, as a result of feedback from last year's rollout of the pre-K and K interdisciplinary units, there was a large interest for the in-person district-wide planning groups. These are specifically for pre-K to grade 2 teachers to gain knowledge and skills around the interdisciplinary unit mapping, documents, and standard-based planning and instruction through collaborative learning, expertise exchange, and professional dialogue. We always start with a presentation around an early childhood topic, where educators are engaged in learning experiences and also have an opportunity to present some of the amazing work being done in their classrooms. Some of the topics covered so far in our work groups are play-based learning at each grade level, backwards design lesson planning, and using clear language objectives in our lessons. The last part of each session, teachers have the choice to plan for upcoming lessons with teams or individually, or troubleshoot with colleagues around some challenges they may have with implementation. I want to thank you for listening to the Early Childhood Update, and now we will transition to English Language Arts with Michelle Winslow and Allison Mosho.
Good evening. I'm Michelle Winslow, the Assistant Director of Curriculum and Instruction for ELA and Reading at the elementary level. Excited to be here with you tonight to share some updates regarding our new implementations. In October, a series of professional development sessions around the Year 1 implementation of the MyView curriculum in grades 3 through 5 commenced with the district inviting building-based curriculum and instructional teachers to participate in training with MyView consultants. This facilitated the launch of the first of 3 cycles of training. Following the CIT trainings, classroom teachers were then invited to participate in the same training. Each day of professional development was a full day of training, held here at Bennett Street. This structure established the format for all 3 cycles of training. Cycle 1 was focused on the components of the program correlated to reading. Cycle 2 had a focus on how the curriculum supports small group instruction. And the third cycle, which will begin in the month of March, will have a focus on writing. This next slide speaks to some of the opportunities that occurred during this training. So it was a keen sense of collaboration across the different cycles. During the grade level training session, teachers worked collaboratively to create posters which reflect the intentional design of the MyView reading routine. The routine has a focus on close reading and evidence-based text responses. Students revisit key aspects of grade level text and identify evidence to support their thinking in response to a weekly question. This work has been uploaded and posted to a Schoology page so that all teachers across the districts at grade levels 3 through 5 can benefit from each other's work. And there's just a quote there from one of our LPS grade 5 educators. To keep in line with the collaborative spirit, during the next cycle of training, teachers investigated many of the resources available to them through the MyView platform. Due to the plethora of resources within the program, teams of teachers chose one of the resources to create an advertisement that spoke to the key components and uses of each resource. The intent here was also to create a library of advertisements, which was also made accessible to all teachers via the Schoology platform. Here, teachers were able to condense the information pertaining to, this is one example of one advertisement pertaining to the Language Awareness Handbook, which zoomed in on how the resources provide critical scaffolds and supports for our multilingual learners. Here, we're going to talk a little bit about some feedback. After each session, presenters elicited teacher feedback. Here are some of the responses received. Garnering this information is a critical step in maintaining aspects of the professional development that resonated with our educators and also provides presenters with insight into what the next step should be in providing our teachers with what they deserve: informative, valuable, and high-quality professional development. So opportunities for student collaboration and discourse was abound, in my view, as we begin and continue to learn the key vehicles within the program. Embedded throughout the routines of my view are opportunities to collaborate. It's quite prevalent. During the culminating week of the unit, which is week 6, students embark on the project-based inquiry. The project-based inquiry teaches the inquiry process, as students learn to ask questions and use their literacy skills to research, discover, and communicate answers to those questions. The project ties the learning from the unit through the essential question. Students use text to research the questions and topics, communicate their learning by composing an opinion essay or an informational explanatory essay. In addition, they create a presentation which they share with their peers. Here we see a grade 5 student presenting his travel guide, developed from the unit's essential question, which was, how do journeys change us? Students chose a country they would like to visit. They then researched elements of their countries, such as language, food, culture, and more, to determine how this journey would change their lifestyle. The project-based inquiry personalizes learning for students and invites them to make connections between the literacy skills, the unit themes, their own lives, and the lives of those around them all, while utilizing research plans, resources, and routines to engage in all stages of the research project. These routines include continuous collaboration with their peers by discussing and expressing conclusions that they've garnered as a result of their research. Hence, students learn the value and the ability to effectively collaborate with different peers and peer groups, and the power of public speaking. Year 2 of the GLEAM Grant provides us with the opportunity to continue our collaboration with the Hill for Literacy and the Department of Ed, as we continue to implement MyView Literacy in grades 3 through 5. The focus of the work is around our Tier 1, in which all students take part in standards-based teaching and learning utilizing grade-level complex text that is accessed via the appropriate scaffolds and supports. To support this critical instructional endeavor, myself, along with a group of identified literacy leaders from the district comprised of both teachers and school administrators, attend a monthly network meeting conducted by the Hill for Literacy. Here, the team is learning about and embracing the professional teachings that are evidence-based instructional practice to support the needs of all of our learners during our Tier 1 ELA instruction. As I segue into the work ensuing with our foundational skills program, Letterland, I'd like to take a moment to share with you a snippet of Tier 1 instruction in a grade 2 classroom here in the district. You will see students take part in live spelling, which is an interactive routine to support the decoding process.
What's the word? Birthday. Birthday. Let's listen for the syllables. So put your palms up. Ready and say birthday. 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 How many syllables? Birthday. 2. Let's clap it. Fill the center. Birthday. What's the first syllable we hear? Who can tell me? What is it, Lashani? Bird. All right, so we're going to count out bird. Ready? Bird. Bird. All right, how many sounds are in bird? Show me. How many sounds? Good, 3 sounds. How many letters are there in bird? Anyone know? Good, Ethan. How many? 5. Good. All right, let's see. Okay. Lashani, come on up. What do you hear at the beginning of bird? Letterlander. Good. All right. Good. All right, Olivia, come on up. What do we hear next in book? What do you hear next? Good. IR says what, everyone? Earth. Now we have book. Vincent, can you come on up? Do you know what 2 letters say Good. You want to fit there? No. Good. All right, so what's the first syllable we have? Bird. All right. What's the whole word? Can you say the whole word again? What is it? Birthday. What's the second syllable going to be? If it's birthday, what's the second syllable? I should put that down. What is it? Day. All right, ready? Let's count out day. Here we go. Day. D-A. Oh, let's do it again. Day. D-A. How many sounds in day? 2. I wonder how many letters are in day. Rosie? 3. All right. Uzziah, can you come on up? You pick out our first sound in our second syllable, day. I'm going to put it over here. D-A. Good, Uzziah. Good choice, right? Good. We're going to separate Uzziah just so we see the 2 syllables, okay? What letter letter says A? Ethan, come on up. What letter letter says A at the end of the syllable? Very good. All right, what syllable is this? Nope, what syllable is this? Day. Let's put it together. What's our word? Birthday. All right, let's write it in our notebooks, and then we're going to mark it up. There's 2 syllables. We need 2 railroad cars.
It's not every day you have the opportunity to pound your desk to demonstrate your understanding of the learning in the classroom. So really excited, and the continued implementation is moving forward. So we're appreciative of everybody's efforts within the schools to make this come alive. So in terms of professional development, as part of the continued implementation of our Tier 1 Orton-Gillingham-based foundational skills program, Letterland, as we know, each building is receiving 3 full days of on-site professional development. Schools will work directly and have been with the consultants to identify dates and times to conduct this training and support to ensure that our Tier 1 practices are effective and accessible to all students. So in terms of really zooming in on the importance of an MTSS and promoting student growth and achievement, it's obviously critical, and one of the rationale and reasons behind the choosing of Letterland is that it has Tier 2 and Tier 3 resources. Kits to be utilized by our reading interventionists who are receiving their training as well throughout the year. So this is just a couple of pictures of small group instruction in which students are receiving that Tier 2 support. We want to close those gaps so that, we have a flipped tier, right? We want a strong Tier 1 so that our Tier 1, there's less kids in need of that Tier 2 intervention. And now just some teacher feedback. Next are some quotes garnered from teachers regarding their experience with the curriculum. One that speaks to the power of an evidence-based Tier 1 resource is, quote, "We like that the units normally focus on 1 skill per unit, and this allows for a higher success rate with student mastery with the skills." And finally, I apologize for the fuzzy Letterlanders, but as seen in the video, I share with you some final quotes from teachers. This was following a professional development session with a Letterland trainer. Letterland, I quote, "is engaging, so my students absolutely love the characters and the stories. I'm so impressed with how much they know at this point in the year. And the live spelling routine, which we watched, is interactive, and it is great to see the students collaborate with these activities." I believe we're on Noisy Nate at the moment, so. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I will now have us hear from Allison Mosho, who will share updates in ELA at the secondary level.
Thank you, Michelle. So to continue the vertical progression, I'd like to orient you to the exciting happenings in secondary ELA, beginning with middle school. So given that our middle school population consists of 787 English learners, during our district PLCs, the middle school ELA department heads and the MLE department work together closely to build capacity among leaders by targeting the following identified areas of need: exposure versus mastery vocabulary, scaffolds and supports, specifically rewriting texts, and MCAS data analysis and assessment. So with high school, there has been a focus on our new curricula with the full implementation of StudySync as our core and Actively Learn as our supplemental resource for grades 9 and 10, 2 programs that provide our students with the equitable, rigorous education they deserve. Part of the implementation plan includes professional development, which so far has occurred in June, September, and January, in addition to monitoring teacher feedback via regular department head check-ins and surveys. On a recent survey, teachers were asked, in thinking about Study Sync and Actively Learn, what is working well? The results of this question are highlighted in the Wordle on the PowerPoint. I would like to specifically spotlight the following: text accessibility, easy translation, scaffolds, and audio. These speak to the positive impact that Study Sync and Actively Learn are having on our students. In addition to using Study Sync and Actively Learn in grades 9 and 10, we are currently piloting these two products for grades 11 and 12 as we look to adopt new curricula for these grades. In this photo series, you can see Study Sync and Actively Learn in action. In the first picture on the far left, we have a student at Frederick Douglass engaged in annotating, which is part of Study Sync's routine with close reading analysis. Additionally, there is a project about a hero versus anti-hero versus villain, and a formative assessment about using evidence, which is an important ELA standard. So, using our two aforementioned resources as an anchor, a team of teachers and department heads, including SPED and MLE, built high-interest, standards-based ELA semester courses for our grade 11 and 12 students. These courses currently include horror literature, Latin American literature, and world mythology. In these courses, students wrestle with the following overarching essential questions. Do our fears unite us or divide us? How does Latin American literature empower today's readers and writers, and how is mythology still influential today? Because these courses are heterogeneous, the development team felt very strongly about making sure there were on-ramps available to all of our students. With this in mind, you will see embedded resources for our most marginalized students, our multilingual learners, and our special education students. As you can see, there is a narrative that describes the ELD standards framework, Standard 2, Language for Language Arts. The narrative also addressed the language functions and graphic organizers. Additionally, the special education supports acknowledge the needs to review IEPs and provide support based on these needs. There are also SPED-specific graphic organizers available that take into account color and font choices for our dyslexic students. So this next slide offers a more in-depth look at the course framework. So here you can see an example of the horror unit, Madness and Mind Games. The beginning of every lesson is framed by the ELA standards with their unpacked skills. Additionally, there are WIDA language expectations with the language functions and support such as sentence frames. Within each unit, you can see topical essential questions, required standards-based benchmarking for progress monitoring, required readings which integrate audio and video, mastery activities, extension activities, and capstone check-ins that build towards the final capstone projects. So in speaking of the capstone projects, I'm so excited for you to see some of the awesome student work out of Lynn Classical, Lynn English, and Lynn Tech. So these capstones allow for project-based learning, and thus students can demonstrate their mastery in various ways. Some options, which you can see on the PowerPoint, include writing your own horror story, podcasting, which you'll hear about in a minute, interviewing someone who has an experience immigrating to another country, creating artwork, putting one of the gods on trial, and allowing our learners to think in creative, innovative ways. We are molding our students into scholars. So I want to take a moment to share a really neat podcast from two Lynn Classical students based on the short story, Where Are You Going, Where Have You Been, by Joyce Carol Oates.
Welcome back to another episode of Something Went Wrong. In today's episode, we are going to be discussing the story, Where Are You Going, Where Have You Been? It's a story about maturing, growing up, getting old. Well, as a young, innocent girl. The story follows Connie, a 15-year-old girl who looks in the mirror, is always obsessed with herself, and her mother, who always criticizes her. Throughout the story, she, does things that any teenage girl would kind of dream of doing, sneaking out, partying with boys, making out with boys, and at the end, she meets this creepy man, who was insinuated that he kidnapped her and was kind of like raping her. He's very good at his craft, very, very good. think when you read towards the end of the story, you can tell that she actually does have a shift in her emotions where it's all turned off and she is taken away by said man. Oh my god, we forgot to introduce ourselves. My name is Trish and this is
I love it.
So I'm going to kind of continue. You can see some other examples. The top one about what is this, where am I, is one of the students wrote a horror short story. Another student drew that artwork. There's a lot of coming of age experiences, magical realism, and what it was like to be a Latinx person. So Japanese horror culture, there's a lot of interesting projects on that too. So I want to kind of continue. So in order to balance these semesters, we were lucky enough to be able to add a 4th course for 23-24. To capture student voice, teachers surveyed our students in top 5 languages. Some of the options were Nigerian literature, apocalyptic literature, poetry, science fiction, Native American, and Asian American literature. So the winner is science fiction. So I'm super excited about this. Our students will have the opportunity to engage in another genre-based course. I'm going to take a quick minute to read the course description. This semester course is designed to increase students' knowledge of science fiction. Emphasis will be placed on the study of literature, novels, and short fiction that depicts our future world, visionary scientific endeavors, and conflicts between humans, aliens, and technology. Students will study the history, exciting contemporary trends, and the relevant issues in science fiction. A capstone project will be due at the end of the semester. So in closing, I want to recognize that these exciting shifts could not be possible without the dedication of our ELA teachers and leaders who have been putting all of these changes into practice. With that in mind, I think it's important to acknowledge the evolution of secondary ELA. It's equally important to note that our efforts to increase academic discourse and move student outcomes remain a foundation of all of our work in ELA. So thank you so much for your time. I'm going to hand it over to Julie and Carrie for math. Thank you.
Thank you.
Should we pause for questions, or do you want to go straight through?
I think they had contemplated doing questions at the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
I know.
It's kind of-
Oh, wait, would you have I moved the other one, sorry. I tricked you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Julie Ward, one of the assistant directors for mathematics, and I'm really excited to share some updates and celebrations in our math curriculum implementation. Illustrative Math, our new K-8 curricular resource, is structured to invite all students into a lesson. To invite all students into a lesson and to provide all students with access to the mathematics. It's a problem-based core curriculum designed to address content and practice standards and foster learning for all. Students learn by doing mathematics, solving problems in mathematical and real-world contexts, constructing arguments, using precise language. We're going to do some math together tonight. Any anxiety? No, none. So this warm-up that we're going to do together is part of a grade 5, unit 3, lesson 2. In this lesson, students are starting to develop their understanding of multiplication of fractions. And they begin by considering situations and involve finding a fraction multiplied by a fraction. They represent situations, drawing diagrams, and make sense of those diagrams to find the product. Previously, students had made sense of multiplication of whole numbers and using arrays, rectangular arrays, to make meaning of multiplication with whole numbers. Starting in kindergarten and grade 1, students use these representations to talk about part-to-whole relationships. So I am going to invite you to do some math with me. And we're going to start by, it's here, I've
My
also
favorite subject.
created a poster. Hopefully you can see that. I'm just going to ask you to take one moment on your own to think which one does not belong of A, B, C, or D. It's over here as well. See it? So just maybe 30 seconds on your own to decide which one doesn't belong. So now I'm going to invite you to take about 30 seconds and just with an elbow partner, talk about which one you chose and why. With an elbow partner, talk about which one you chose and why. I know it's a little bit tricky the way you're seated, but it's okay if you work it.
I chose A because 3, 4, 5. One's have a top one.
So I initially thought that.
Two. Oh, 3. Yeah. Great.
Oh, we got the answer.
Beep, 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 beep.
Thank you. Actually, I'm gonna invite you back to whole group. And one of the norms that we use in the math classroom is, and I'm glad you just elevated that, is we use symbols like this to indicate I'm ready and I have an answer, or maybe this because I have 2 possibilities or 3. And this is a way of respectfully and silently, right, acknowledging I'm ready to share, but giving everyone else an opportunity to be ready to share as well. I would invite anyone to share either your thinking or the thinking of your partner with their permission. Which one you chose doesn't belong. Any volunteers? Thank you, Brian.
My partner, Member Dugan, he reported to me. He reported to me on this date. No, we said D because they were, doesn't have equal parts.
Okay, so I think what I heard you say, Brian, is that D doesn't belong because they do not have equal parts.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
And I had the opposite.
Okay, would you like to share what you were thinking?
Yeah, so part of my thinking was A because they had, I feel like B, D, and C all had one color, but A had 3 of them colored in. 3 units colored.
Oh, 3 units colored in. So
kinda
I think I heard you say was 3 units were colored in.
Threw me off.
Okay. That's great, thank you. Okay. Would anyone else like to share? Maybe
My
not.
colleague and I.
Oh, wait.
Our colleague, we came up with A.
So you also said A.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell us why you said A?
Same reasoning, different shades,
Different shades, okay?
which could represent a fraction.
And you said something about representing fractions.
Correct.
Not my best first grade penmanship, but keep going. Deb, you wanted to share?
Yeah, the mayor and I both actually agreed. We said A as well, and our rationale was that B, C, and D each have 1 part to the whole, whereas A had 3 parts to the whole.
Okay.
And on D, I think we drew lines across because you could have equal parts there.
Okay.
Just so I'm clear, I'm definitely choosing A. So I'm going to use precise language. This is a constructive argument, but I agree.
So what I think I just heard is that you sharing that you were talking about drawing additional lines across. And what
Correct.
would that do for us?
It gives us equal parts.
Okay, equal parts, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, would anyone be willing to share if they chose either B or C and why? Yeah, Sheila.
Yes, I chose B.
Thank you.
Because I also looked at the equal parts of D, and I believe that A, D, and C are all 1/6, and B is 1/10.
Thank you for sharing, Sheila. Thank you, Sheila. All right, did anyone want to give a last thought on C?
Math strain.
Okay, okay, it's okay if we don't. So, thank you for participating. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we just did as a community and what our students do every day in math as a community of learners. If any of you immediately had the reaction of anxiety about math when I said we're going to do math together, typically 40% of anyone in the room will experience that. But what we're doing is we're undoing that experience. We are going to intentionally create an environment where all students can participate and feel confident in participating. And I hope after we just, did this short math warm-up from illustrative math together that you had that experience. I want to elevate a few things around student engagement, student voice, student thinking, the mathematical ideas, the brilliant mathematical ideas that even you shared with one another and with the whole group. Building positive math identity is a critical component and pedagogical practice that's embedded in this curriculum, and it's really important for us that students build that identity. I also want to add that I was trying to replicate the practice of just revoicing and honoring everybody's thinking. There was no right or wrong. You are all right, right? As long as you justify what you're thinking, there was no right answer. The ultimate goal that we're going to be moving into in this warm-up with multiplication of fractions is that the first A represents 1/2 times 1/3. But students start to develop that deep understanding by seeing the 1/6 in that representation. So I wanted to also elevate that this particular program has those embedded supports throughout for students with different learning needs as well as multilingual learners. There are embedded practices, math language routines in the program that support access. So that's really one of our focal points is the equitable access for all students that we're working together to accomplish. Okay, moving to the next. So in the fall, we gathered feedback from educators, and I'm really happy to share some of that feedback. One quote from an educator: "Seeing the engagement of students is amazing. Listening to student discourse has been unbelievable. Watching the students persevere and work together in solving problems is what I have always hoped to see. Students are taking ownership, and I really think that if we keep pushing through, we'll see huge growth in the future." So we'll be gathering more feedback both this winter and in the spring as part of our continuous improvement and creation of a successful implementation, and happy to report back. It's also been shared by educators a desire for enhanced communication. And so one of the things that we are doing, we're creating regular updates and newsletters that provide resources about the program Illustrative Mathematics, and including embedded professional learning opportunities in the form of blog posts that are really short reads, but provide some information and help for teachers that are learning this new program. So some examples of these blog posts and short newsletters are how to include math centers in daily lessons, choosing math tools and representations that work. So those are just a sample. Our next photo are students engaged in collaboration and problem solving in math class. The intentional structure and routines, as I mentioned, that are embedded, they create problem solving communities, similar to what you experienced, and our students are excited, smiling, engaged. The center activities, which are also part of the program, build procedural fluency for students and offer fun games that the students love playing. Some of the various resources that you can see pictured here are part of our implementation. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, through a high-quality instructional materials grant, purchased all of the student and teacher books as well as the student licenses for our district. We supplemented that by purchasing center and manipulative kits, teacher resource packs that are all integral to the program, and we continue to get feedback and support teachers in growing other things that they might need in their classroom to make sure they have successful implementation. In addition, we have unit planning guides that are available and we're working with teachers on, and an illustrative mathematics teacher hub that's publicly available. As we continue our implementation of the illustrative mathematics, we have layers of professional learning to support this. As you may remember, we launched last summer with a 2 or 3 day math retreat for our schools that were either building-based or combination of buildings. We, at the launch of the school year, were also offered some illustrative math professional learning before we started school. From September through January to date, basically, we've offered professional learning opportunities for teachers, curriculum instruction teachers, coaches, department chairs, and principals in several different ways. Some opportunities are school-based and some at the district level. We continue to monitor the feedback and will adapt our professional development options. School-based professional learning community structures are also part of the school day, and that provides teachers collaborative planning time so that they can also take that opportunity to learn and grow their practice. We've created some optional after-school professional learning communities where teachers are unpacking the illustrative math units, and they're planning and doing math collaboratively, and they'll earn PDPs for their time. Our district math coaches are supporting all 18 elementary schools across the district to provide job-embedded professional learning by facilitating professional learning communities at the school sites, as well as engaging teachers in lesson planning cycles. We're building a more coherent coaching model and visioning. We're working with national consultants, the Math Connection, and we are anchored in the National Council of Supervising Mathematics. There are 9 essential actions for coaching. This work is centering students and focused on increasing mathematical, academic, and mathematical discourse in the math classrooms. As part of our work together, we participated in a listening tour in one of our schools, and we heard brilliance from students. Some which included, and you can see here, when you skip count by 5, you go odd, even. That may not sound very complex, but it's actually brilliant as students start to identify patterns in numbers, and students come up with these ideas on their own, which is fascinating every time I walk into a math classroom. So I know this quote is out of context, but it is evidence that students are making sense of problems and they're noticing a lot about the mathematics. We witness students engaged in the math practices seamlessly, and it's really something we're celebrating. The illustrative mathematics curriculum is supported by the Imagine Learning platform. Teachers and students have access to a variety of resources and tools, which includes teacher books, student books, planning materials, PowerPoint slides, and other resources, all adaptable for teachers. Each unit has a short unit summary video to discuss the big mathematical ideas, and often includes, as we're going to see in a moment, very short videos that integrate real-world application of what the students will be studying. The video that we're about to see is from grade 5, and it's around the deforestation of Borneo. Or Neo, excuse me, I think I misspoke. Thanks, Allison. Got it.
On the island of Borneo, there's a rainforest like no other. People have been here for more than 40,000 years, living alongside plants and animals found nowhere else in the world. However, over the past few decades, deforestation has transformed Borneo's environment. Borneo is the world's 3rd largest island and is found in Southeast Asia. In the 1970s, most of the island was covered in rainforest. Three-fourths of Borneo was rainforest, while one-fourth was made up of towns, waterways, and farms. Years later, the land looked very different. By 2010, almost one-third of the rainforests had disappeared. This fraction was cut down for timber, cleared to make way for farms, or lost to wildfires. Another third was still forest, but had lost some of its trees to logging. This left just one-third of the original rainforest remaining, which is a small fraction of the total area of Borneo. Sadly, we are losing rainforest every year. But there's still hope. There are projects all around Borneo dedicated to replanting trees and protecting the natural environment. In the future, we may see an increase in the fraction of rainforest. By conserving Borneo's natural environment, we not only protect the rainforest, but also the people, animals, and plants that call it home.
So thank you for watching the video. I think it just creates in me excitement about what I'm about to learn. It also integrates so many other areas for students that they are studying, both around the environment and scientific topics. And so this for me felt meaningful in terms of how students are able to engage in some of the tools on our platform. Teachers can also assign work and assessments online, some of which are auto-corrected. Students have opportunities, starting in kindergarten, to use interactive technology on the platform for age-appropriate learning and assessments. And teachers can use the data analytics tools that are embedded in this platform to inform their instructional decisions and help progress monitor student work. As we talked about, illustrative mathematics promotes student collaboration, individual and group work, and student-authored representations. Here you see some of the student work that they generate, both individually and collaboratively. Students make sense of mathematics and develop conceptual understanding and strong number sense. These photos are from our middle schools. Our students are also engaged in rich math lessons with embedded supports. During classroom visits, we observe students using various math tools while sharing their mathematical ideas. Student voices are centered in the learning, and students' construction of their mathematical understanding is happening every day. As we continue to enact our math vision that was developed last year with our curriculum leadership team that you may remember, which is creating a math learning environment where all learners have equitable access to high-quality curriculum and instruction that is anchored in rigorous lessons, includes student experiences, all voices are heard, and where students see themselves as mathematicians, are sharing their ideas about math, using tools, representations, and hands-on materials to problem solve and develop individual math understanding through reasoning, respectfully challenging the ideas of others, and inclusive use of language strategies. As we move through our ongoing implementation phase, and you remember this graphic perhaps from last year, we've gone through and now we're still in the implementation and monitoring phase of the work. We'll continue to support our educators with professional learning, including we have an upcoming middle school teacher opportunity in March. During the spring and summer, as well as next school year, we'll progress monitor and respond to teacher and student needs by supporting professional learning and other newsletter updates and things that hopefully will be helpful. I'm also really happy to share that just today, I received notification from the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education that Lynn Public Schools has been awarded a 2-year K-8 math implementation grant. This grant will support the ongoing professional learning for our teachers. And I want to thank you for your time and turn it over to Kerry to discuss high school math updates.
Thank you, Julie. Okay. So Julie shared some of the work that's happening with our illustrative math program, K-8, and I'll focus more on the work that is being done with our high schools and one additional middle school update. Earlier this year, MCAS data for mathematics at our high schools was presented. As Deb noted in her presentation of that MCAS data, there is a lot of work to be done with and for our students. Our high school teachers have been working hard to respond to those needs. Julie also talked about some of the collaboration efforts in our district PLCs. Those district PLCs have been instrumental in guiding this important work and have provided a platform for transformational leadership to take place. High school department heads have been meeting with assistant directors, both around content and best practices. As a result of these PLC meetings, the department heads and the assistant directors have had the opportunity to work collaboratively. Among one of those products is a strategic plan centered around building capacity in the mathematics department at the high school level. We co-created a proposal together to respond to our MCAS data, focusing on our Tier 1 instruction, much like Michelle mentioned during the elementary ELA presentation. Also, for the past several Saturdays, including last weekend when it was negative 10 degrees out, a group of high school math teachers, just want to make sure that they were up there, a group of high school math teachers and department heads have been meeting to analyze data, to unpack standards, and to build targeted, rigorous standards-based lessons for use in our Algebra 1 and Geometry classes. These lessons will be used for Tier 1 instruction in the classroom, as well as during our 8-week-long Saturday MCAS response programming beginning in March. Also a collaborative program developed with the department heads. These Saturday planning sessions with teachers have been a much-needed professional development for all of us. The feedback I have received from teachers each week has been wonderful. The opportunity to engage in rich academic discourse around content and pedagogy as it relates to mathematics with fellow math teachers and math administrators in the district has created a synergy amongst all stakeholders, which will move us towards academic success in mathematics for our students. I'd like to take a minute to thank, especially because of that negative 10 degree day, I'd like to take a minute to give a shout out to those teachers who have been part of this work. Angela Skinner, Kelly Benito, Kathy Bonnevie, Bill Cammett, Diane Castleberry, Annie Dean, Barbie Funicello, Samara Gilly, Jenny Guan, Mark Johnston, Tim McHugh, Ben Oyer, Tim Sereno, and Kathy White. These hard-working teachers have been giving up their precious free time on the weekends for the sole purpose of responding to the needs of our students. On a personal note, I have felt invigorated and recharged after each of our meetings, and I am excited about the direction we are moving towards together as a team. In order to shift the mindset from concerning MCAS data to more of an assets-based focus, we not only heavily focus on instruction, but also on the individual funds of knowledge and cultural capital that our students bring to school every day. I asked the math department heads to share some examples of work that both teachers and students are engaged in and are proud of. I'm excited to share their work with you. As my colleagues have highlighted, our schools are committed to improving academic discourse in our classrooms. In this slide, you will see students at Lynn English engaged in group work in their geometry classes. Students are using manipulatives, tools to create products that align to standards using the highest level of blooms. At Lynn Classical High School, teachers are working hard to incorporate technology in the classroom. Students in this Algebra 1 class are seen using graphing calculators and motion detectors to create equations, graphs, tables, and verbal descriptions of real-life scenarios. Students learned about pausing, increasing, decreasing, and constant speeds. Engaging in the speaking and writing domains of our academic discourse work, students were then able to create storylines that went with the data collected by their motion detectors. Moving forward, these students will work with graphing calculators and motion detectors to explore rates of change. At Frederick Douglass Collegiate Academy, students are seen working with their teachers to solve linear equations by elimination with and without the use of graphing technology, and proved that the sum of one equation and a multiple of the other produces a system with the same solution as the original. At Lynn Technical and Vocational High School, students are engaged in using inside-outside circles to promote academic discourse. Students in these photos can be seen comparing rates of change and initial values of linear functions represented algebraically, verbally, numerically, and graphically. I'm just going to take a sip of water. Excuse me. Okay. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a moment. Maybe that might help. Thanks, Julie. I hope this will help or make it worse, but I'll get through it. We'll see. Excuse me. We have 2 new courses in the works. Next year at Lynn Classical, at Lynn English and Lynn Classical, we will be piloting AP Pre-Calculus. AP Pre-Calculus is a new course designed to prepare more students for the math they'll encounter in college. AP Pre-Calculus is a new offering from the College Board for the 23-24 academic year. And the first AP Pre-Calculus exam will be administered in spring of 2024. Additionally, I am happy to announce that we are currently creating an internal MTEL prep course for our educators for preparation for secondary mathematics, for the secondary mathematics certification, and will eventually offer a general curriculum math MTEL prep course. This course was made possible, excuse me, this course was made possible by Deb Morell, our Assistant Director of Educator Quality, excuse me, in response to requests from our high schools as a result of the diversity grant that Deb applied for and was awarded to. Thank you, Mary.
Mess.
Perfect timing for a coughing attack. 2 of our own high school math teachers will be working on developing the content of this course as a continued effort in building capacity in our district. Okay. Lastly, we are working closely with GE and MIT and are in the 12th year of our GE Girls at MIT programming. As many of you may know, this program was brought to our district by Shirley Albert Benedict, now the principal of Brickett Elementary School. This summer, students will spend 4 days working with Edgerton Center at MIT and GE engineers to build flashlights, soldering electronical connections, running chemical reactions, and learning how airplanes fly. The program is funded by General Electric and developed by members of the GE Women's Network. The MIT Edgerton Center aims to interest girls in science and technology and ultimately increase the number of female engineers. You can see many of our young budding engineers up here on the screen. I love this slide, by the way. It makes me very happy. And the girls love it, I just need to say that. I'm happy to report that after this summer, we will have sent over 250 young LPS scholars through this program, which many have described as a life-changing experience. We are appreciative of your time. We know we took a lot of it. And we want to reiterate our excitement about the thoughtful, innovative changes that are happening in Lynn Public Schools throughout all of our grade levels. This important work is aligned to the district's strategic plan and works towards our goal of providing equitable access to all of our learners in our schools. Both the work that has been highlighted here tonight and the work that lies ahead in our future would not be possible without the unrelenting dedication and collaborative efforts of all Lynn Public Schools stakeholders. We just wanted to give them a shout out. So, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Questions from the committee? Member Dugan, Member Pena, and our student representative. Victoria, and Member
So, Carrie, thank you for what you just said, actually, thoughtful and innovative changes. So that makes me think of our teachers as well. And there's been a lot of thoughtful and innovative changes in their classrooms as of late. And so I think everyone's been working really hard, and I just want to publicly thank them all for that. It's hard getting new curriculum. It's hard getting new things, I don't want to say thrown at you, but we could say that, thrown at you, and then teach 23, 24 students in front of you. So I appreciate all our teachers, and I can't say enough about the work they're doing. My question is about reading. Yeah, is that all right if I? Yeah. There was a lot. Yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot. I'm glad I wrote some things down because they would have. Once we got those math questions, those reading questions would have gone away. Yeah, you want to all roll up? Yeah, roll on up. Roll on up. While you guys roll up, I think I'd like to change my answer to B, by the way. Sheila got me thinking. That was, 1/6 might be the key there.
Ryan was very sure about A.
I was sure.
He was very sure about it. I tried to give him some D, but yeah. So my question about, I have a few questions about the reading curriculum. Thank you for your presentations. They were very thoughtful and very informative. So you mentioned teacher feedback, and there was a lot of feedback in our presentation. It's positive feedback, but if we get feedback that is, obviously you're not going to get it, it's not always going to be positive. So what do we do with it? Should there be some type of, common theme that comes up? How are we going to address things like that, especially in the reading curriculum? As we know, if children aren't reading by third grade, it greatly reduces their chances of succeeding in terms of reading. And it's really important, especially at that younger level, that's happening. So without the buy-in from our teachers, I guess that's the important part too. So what do we do about that? Should things be missing? Whatever the case may be,
No, absolutely. And in terms of the feedback, sorry. So in collaboration with the Letterland trainers and Keys to Literacy, we also have the 4 district literacy coaches who are starting to cycle through schools to also support this endeavor in terms of responding to, as you say, buy-in, and it's true.
Yeah.
It's a brand-new program. The rationale behind it is an Orton Gillingham-based instructional Tier 1 resource, and it was highly recommended by Crafting Minds. But what I feel is most important, and in terms of next steps, it's one thing, and this is something I've always said, to purchase the resource.
Mm-hmm.
And the next step is really empowering our teachers with the theory behind the rationale for utilizing and why these integral components of the resource, how they can be effective in supporting our students at different levels and different abilities. So one of the things, in collaboration with the Special Education Department, I've been working closely with them as they have recently purchased and trained their teachers as well, the inclusion specialists in another system called Sunday System for Tier 2 and Tier 3 reading, is to now start to look at how can we bring in additional professional development around the theories and practices behind this type of instruction to support the use of the resource as well.
Okay, great.
Not sure if that answers.
No,
your
it does.
question.
Yes, thank you. I
'Cause
appreciate
they
that.
need much
Yeah.
more than say, here's your kit.
Absolutely.
And run with it. They need
Absolutely, yeah.
Continued professional development and support. The goal was to get the resources in place. We haven't had a Tier 1 foundational skills program in the district, so that's super exciting. It's unique and different than what people might deem a Tier 1 resource, but in terms of the research behind it, the team that vetted it felt strongly, but I absolutely understand and can, validate concerns over certain aspects of it. So that's why next steps would be to get some professional development, not just from Letterland, who are all Orton Gillingham trained professional developers, but specifically to the theories and practices, so that if what is in the kit themselves and the resource that they're using doesn't fit the need of that student in front of them, they're going to have that additional package of tools and strategies to address those needs. So that would be the next phase that we're hoping to bring into the
Great, thank you. No, that's a great answer. Thank you very much.
I think,
Can I
Oh,
just
yeah, go
add
ahead,
to
Deb. Yeah,
that?
sorry, yeah.
You specifically talked about the things that aren't working.
Yeah,
Right, and the
right.
trends that might rise that aren't working in any of our surveys.
Anything, right.
Quite honestly, that's what surveys are about.
Yeah.
We need to find out what's not working and what needs to be adjusted. That's the power of surveys. So we will look at those trends. Mrs. Powers and I have already been talking about, we already know some areas that we need to look at. Now is the time we have to find out what are the materials that we need to add to get books in hand and help the teachers. So it's important that I don't want to use the word negative, that constructive feedback
Constructive is probably, yeah.
is where we need to address.
Right, yes.
And in all of these rollouts that you see out here,
Yeah.
one of the things that we're going to be doing is progress monitoring the rollout. And with each one of these rollouts, teachers are going to be getting a survey on the rollout so that we do assess their needs and we get the complete picture of the feedback.
Okay, thank you, yeah. And again, I don't want that to be perceived as me attacking. It's
no,
not.
it's
Yeah,
critically important.
yeah. And then my other question is just kind of the practicality of the curriculum itself. So you go from the K to 2 curriculum, and then it switches to MyView when they get to 3rd grade. Did it? Oh, I'm sorry, Lori. When it switches to MyView when it gets to 3rd grade. So in terms of benchmarking, are we using like running records, dibbles? How are we determining, as they go from 2nd grade to 3rd grade, where those, supports may come in?
So-
with the different, maybe not common language or
Right.
between the curriculums, yeah.
No, absolutely. So all students K to 5 take the Star Renaissance Assessment. 3 times a year, they take the benchmark, and then there's progress monitoring in place to also determine growth and where additional needs need to be met. K to 2, the focus right now is utilizing the interdisciplinary units of study, and embedded in that, we're continuing to work with that particular curriculum and embedding additional assessments, both formative in nature. They also have embedded performance tasks embedded in the curriculum as well, within 3 to 5. So we utilized, as I had previously presented last spring, that we purchased resources to support the interdisciplinary units of study in K to 2, and we're continuing collaboratively to work on the curriculum. And then in 3 to 5, we also have online digitized platforms within the MyView Realize platform to also continue to assess students in terms of the other remaining strands, such as vocabulary comprehension.
Great, thank you. And then can I ask math question as well, or? Yeah, okay, yeah. I didn't know if we were doing them in order. So again, great presentations. It looks like illustrative math is really great, and it's going to be a wonderful curriculum for our students. I really love the collaboration, and then the classroom discussions as well. I think are going to be very valuable for our students. My question is again kind of around benchmarks, just in terms of like number sense and our students especially at the young. That's kind of where I'm at, the younger levels. How are we kind of determining those tier 1, tier 2
Yeah, so-
interventions?
Yep, we have iReady Diagnostics, pre-K, K all the way through grade 10 right now, but we also are very much attentive to, within the classroom, the formative nature of the embedded daily assessments that students are administered and take in terms of like an exit ticket.
Yep.
And so that's really important formative data to respond to, and oftentimes part of the curriculum response is, as students do their exit ticket or their end of day synthesis assessment, teachers are examining that data to then follow up the next day. Another embedded component part within the curriculum, particularly in the younger grades, are the centers. And the centers are designed, they're not really grade leveled, they're leveled across grades, and they become more and more rigorous in terms of it's a similar activity, but it just grows in terms of how students are developing their number sense. So that's another layer, that students are engaged in the centers in various ways, strategically sometimes, if we know this group of students needs work around operations and algebraic thinking, then those students might engage in that center activity for a period of time, and then there's a reassessment that takes place. So it's very much, I would say, a continuous monitoring system that is expected within the curriculum, and the iReady diagnostic is a benchmarking mechanism for 3 times per year. We are just seeing where students are as it compares to grade level. And that is important because they also have access to My Path that can give them individualized, adaptive, opportunities to learn and grow their mathematical understandings. So there's multiple prongs in terms of supporting students in their numeracy building.
Right.
Does that answer?
It does, yes, thank you. But then just kind of a follow-up, as they move from unit to unit, for example, addition, fractions, polygons, whatever it might be.
Yep.
Is it flexible where, okay, this child needs, help with multiplication, but we're good with fractions?
Yep.
Is it flexible type that way?
Definitely.
Okay.
And the way in which the program is actually structured is it's very cyclical. It's not siloed or like, we're going to study only this now. For example, you see operations and algebraic thinking throughout the year.
Yeah, it spirals
That's
through,
embedded.
okay.
You'll see data embedded in various contextual ways that's appropriate, so that they're not like just studying something and leaving it. They are studying it and growing it through the year. And at the end of the year, they actually have an entire unit where it's called Putting It All Together. And they apply all of their learning from grade level standards in new ways. And that integrates all of the various standards as well. So there's a lot of intentionality so that it's not an expectation that we did this lesson, now we're done. It's, we did this lesson, we're going to expand on it, and we're going to integrate it again in different ways. And then, as I mentioned, the centers are really purposeful in terms of the number sense. And the games and the things that they're doing in those centers are the ways in which we're building their fluency.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So again, my questions are more at the elementary level, so secondary teachers, you guys are good in my book, but thank you. Hopefully my colleagues will have some questions for you, but yes, I'm sure Lorraine will, yeah.
We got, member Pena, and then I got a few other ones, but we'll add member Pena, member Samuel, member Magnolia, and then member Gately.
All right.
And then member Castellanos.
Well, I want to say thank you for the presentation. Thank you for, and congratulations on the grant. You have a 2-year grant from DESE, right?
Yes.
That's always great to hear about money. And I appreciate the math illustration, especially involving us. And that was such a great exercise. I could picture myself as a student how you would make things a lot easier in discussing in a big setting like that. And it's important to make our students, feel included and part of. It's very important. My question is for the early child, and you have the parent-child program. It's the engagement. Is that offered in bilingual? Is that also for in multi-languages different?
Yes, the Parent-Child Plus program. Yes, we have.
Yeah, because I didn't read that on it. I didn't know if it was offered in that.
Yes, we do have early learning specialists that speak Spanish. We also have, I believe we have one that we just hired that also speaks Khmer. So we do definitely offer.
Yeah, because it's important to engage our parents in different languages, and I'm pretty sure many parents want to get involved with the children, and maybe language barriers are there, so it's important to do that. And I really appreciate the family engagement. You have it at the library. So you offer the story time in Spanish and then story talking in English. That's on Fridays. What time is that, so I can pass the word? Because the time wasn't mentioned. I know you said Fridays. I just was wondering what.
You know what? I don't know off the top of my
Okay,
head.
all right.
I can definitely send something, but it should be on Facebook too.
Okay.
On the CFCE calendar.
Be great, so I could pass the word around. Yeah, I really appreciate it. I appreciate the presentation. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Samuel.
Thank you for the presentations. I just would like to comment on the English electives first, because I took one last semester and it was for literature, and I literally just finished my capstone like 2 weeks ago. I did an analysis on literary devices and like multiple different stories, and I just want to thank you for like making those types of classes, because they're really engaging. And like I know people who don't do the best with writing in English classes, and it just makes them like more fun and exciting. And then this is across like both math and English, the collaboration and participation aspects of both of them. I really appreciate both of those, because even as a kid, I know sometimes it's hard for students to want to engage in class. And then the inclusion of the choices of teachers and students, and like their input and the surveys. I just would like to ask if there will be like more surveys and more cases where the inputs of students are included in both math and English. And if there are, I'd just like to see it continue, because it's very helpful, and you know, I find it important, and I know other students find it important. So.
Thank you.
I'm so excited. And yeah, student voice will definitely continue for sure.
Thank you for this. Very articulate.
Thank you. Thank you. Member Magnolia.
Thank you. I would just like to say thank you to all of the presenters. I wanted to let both Ms. Ward and Ms. Altieri know that I have a 5th grader who says math is her favorite subject. So kudos on the elementary level for that. My question, though, is for Ms. Winslow. I have heard with this new curricular rollout that it is challenging to get Black History Month to kind of cross across the various curriculums in ways that it was a little easier before. And I'm wondering if you can talk about the materials and maybe some of the challenges that teachers might have in accessing ELA materials that dovetail with Black History Month now versus with the old curriculum, and how the professional development might be able to address some of that, because obviously Black History Month touches almost all subjects. So in thinking specifically about how the ELA curriculum can interact with that, I'm wondering if you've heard this feedback from educators, if it's something that's come up. Obviously, constituents have contacted me regarding it, so I'm wondering if this is the first you're hearing about it. So thank you very much.
No, and thank you for that question. I haven't, to my knowledge, been approached in terms of this particular topic. I know that, you know, we had a team of 44 educators across the districts vetting the resources, and one of the things that, you know, drew us to the MyView resource for grades 3 to 5 in particular was the level of diversity within the texts. In terms of windows, mirrors, and doors, you know, that was obviously of keen interest to us to make sure that those types of texts were there embedded not only within the student interactive for the weekly lessons, but also within the mentor texts that are also made available within the curriculum. But I appreciate you bringing that to my attention, and I can certainly work with MyView at the 3 grade levels to see if we can extract some of those texts that would be in particularly conducive to supporting that type of instruction.
I think that sounds like a great idea, because I think that maybe the reason that folks were approaching me is because they weren't sure exactly how to use the curricular materials to dovetail with Black History Month, since it's brand new. So I bet some guidance from your department would be really appreciated in that context. So thank you.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you. Member Gately.
Thank you, all of you, for your presentations. I just have a few questions, okay? First, we'll start with the early childhood. My question was already answered by you, Mrs. Winslow, when you said Renaissance testing. That was one of my questions. The other question is, do they have a MyView for K through 2?
So in terms of MyView, so when I presented last spring, one of the goals in vetting the resource was that we would find something that would also facilitate the implementation of resources within the units of study for K to 2. And that we had a series of standing, points that we paid, keen mind to in terms of those resources. In my view, did have many of those resources in terms of, diverse texts, culturally responsive teaching, social justice, strong lens of science and social studies. So what we did, and I spoke to this in my presentation, is we did not purchase the full MyView curriculum for K-2. It was determined that we would purchase resources from the platform in support of the interdisciplinary units of study.
Only because the Renaissance scores were not good last year. And I'm wondering if your teachers are finding a lot of loss going into second, third grade, first grade of the learning. I just want to make sure that our students are learning what they need to learn so that at the end of third grade, they are definitely reading so they can be successful. That's all I have to say about the K-2. ELA, my view, thank you very much. There was one question. I wanted to know how the program is going, but it's going well. Letterland, my view.
Letterland, I think that in the most part, from a lot of the feedback that I've seen, I'm trying to be out in the schools as well. The coaches are also starting to cycle through the schools as well. I think that what's critically important is that the buildings, bring in those 3 days of additional professional development staggered throughout the year so that they have that, embedded support directly with the program at each school. I had genuinely heard a lot of good feedback. I know that there's some cumbersome points to the program, and we're going to be addressing that, in particular with some additional resources that we can purchase from the platform to support, in particular, small group instruction, as well as maybe also creating, for some of the documents that need to be printed, creating binders for pre-K to 2, so that teachers don't have to go looking for some of those resources online on the platform, but have it directly at their fingertips. It's a lift and it's a shift in teaching, and we're seeing some really good successes, and we're also going to need to be mindful, as Mrs. Powers spoke to, progress monitoring to ensure that we're addressing all the needs from curricular resources to specific professional development concerns, and coaches are starting to also model lessons at specific schools, not only in K-2 but in 3 to 5. Looking at that data, we haven't had a Tier 1 foundational skills program in the district, and that's going to need so highly needed. So it will take time to see the impact of that and the results of that, but I believe we're moving in the right direction. And we're also looking at, as a team, how do we support Tier 2 and Tier 3 and 3 through 5? How do we outfit our reading specialists with the right resources? Letterland goes to grade 2. There's a grade 3 Tier 1 foundational skills program for grade 3. But also now, what's the next phase in supporting the reading development of our students in terms of, learning to read? Will be the next thing, in terms of that next phase, as I spoke to earlier. What resources do we arm our reading specialists with, so when they're coming in for Tier 2 in grades 3 through 5, they have that data to drive their instruction to support kids specifically with those evidence-based resources.
So we should be seeing some good things over the next few years. High school ELA, I just wish I was in high school right now. Like, it would be so much more interesting, like you said. It just, it would make it a lot more interesting. I know I'm ancient, so I went a long time ago, and I really didn't like English because it was like, I like science, let's put it that way. But I could write a lot of capstones in science, and it would have been really good for me. And for other students now. Math K through 8. The only question I had, and I got a few complaints at the very beginning of the year. Parents are frustrated with, how do I help my kids with math? They're coming home crying. They don't know what to do. It's like a lot of critical thinking going on, and I just question whether they're ready to critical think, but you know, how do parents help their students, help their children in math
Yeah.
if they're doing this program?
Yeah.
That's what I guess that's my question.
Yeah, we have actually a robust family center embedded in the program that we just probably need to illuminate a little bit more at the school level so parents know and understand what resources are available to them through the portal. There are family videos that highlight similarly what students will be studying and how can you help your child. And that includes very basic sort of math games or math conversations that will support what's happening in the classroom throughout that unit. So maybe that's good feedback to just sort of highlight and continue to share the importance of schools sharing to families. I mean, we can share it at the district level for sure, but we also know that families appreciate their, sort of school touching base with the school. So I think I'm just going to make note that, sort of collaborating with principals and folks at the school level to ensure that parents know those videos are there and available, and those games and those activities that they can do at home are accessible. So I appreciate that feedback, and it'll be a follow-up that I'll make sure to address.
Okay, and now, how much was your grant for?
We don't know the actual budget yet. We asked for a lot. It's pretty much exclusively to support the professional learning of the implementation, which I actually appreciate a lot, and I'm sure teachers will appreciate a lot. So I don't know the quantifiable number yet.
Yes, we do.
Oh, you do now? Oh.
I got on deck.
Lynn has been awarded $365,938.
So, and we did, in our written narrative, we really focused on teacher support, supporting teachers with compensation for their time, creating an infrastructure so that they can really dig in even more to the understanding of the math and the scope and sequence of the program. So I'm really excited about it too.
I can't wait to things. I just would like to see everything happening right now so that it's all the results are out there and our students are walking away with the unreal education. On to high school. I didn't really have much to say. They seem like they're engaged and you are doing the right thing with the extra help. But I do want to talk about the GE girls at MIT, and I want to give a kudos to everyone that's been involved in that program because my niece, Grace Gately, graduated last year from Worcester Polytech. She was an English grad. She graduated from Worcester Polytech and in engineering. And she went to the GE Girls MIT program, and I think that was the impetus to get her into engineering, and it was wonderful. And one last thing on that is, are you still having the Endicott program?
Yes.
Okay, this is
Yes.
on top of it like it was.
Yes.
I think I'm done. Thank you very much.
Member Castellanos.
I'm not going to talk too much, I promise. I'll keep it short and sweet. I really enjoyed the course offerings for the MTEL prep and also the pre-calculus for students that's coming up. It's a very important course offering. I think it's going to be, I think it's very important. That pipeline for that MTEL prep is very important. Getting more of our staff equipped and certified is so important. Sometimes we see staff, they're always, good, great educators in that little pendant. We're just trying to get them through, and to get that extra support's a big deal. And we want to make sure that we retain the best. And sometimes the test might not be the exact indicator, but we got to get them through. As Member Gately just mentioned, the GE Girls at MIT program, it's inspiring, honestly. When I can't believe it's year 12. That's a big deal. I wanted to bring up just a quick, just a highlight for the Commonwealth Preschool Partnership Initiative. That grant, it's going to be life-changing. That's a big deal, and I want folks out there in the public to. That's going to be a game changer, especially when you look at all three priorities that are up there. It's the expansion of access to affordable, quality preschool, building locally aligned quality, and the third is equitable access to special education and inclusion. That grant's a phenomenal award, and when I saw us get awarded this grant, it hit my soul. And I know it's a big deal. That's a really significant success for us.
And we have the right person in charge of it.
I keep hearing. So I want to say thank you. Thank you. And just my one simple question is for the new program space on Atlantic Street, what's the capacity? How many, what's that look like?
The CFCE program is more of a family program, so it's not a classroom or anything.
Okay.
It's, parents bringing their children there, so it's, we, typically the play groups have 12 families max. So it's, and we, the younger kiddos will be participating in the play group while the parents participate in a parent workshop that's right next door or something. So it's more, it's not a school or anything, it's just a space for that collaboration with families.
Okay. And just my last comment is about just thank you for your presentation. The curriculum that we're rolling out in the district, to be honest with you, our staff are incredible. Sometimes I can't imagine how they find the time to digest that curriculum. And I get to hear from staff sometimes that are in the midst of being overwhelmed. But to see the examples of the why, when you show us the examples, it is enlightening. And I just want to give kudos to our staff that actually they're out there just digesting this complicated curriculum. I do appreciate the web-based Excel for our PD for the pre-K. That's pretty legit. That's cool that they get to go and go in and educate themselves and provide those tools. But it's still, I just want to give kudos to the staff. Because you could have the best, robust curriculum, you could buy all the curriculum, but it's the people on the ground to deliver it that really matter, that make the difference. So just want to keep it right on the forefront. But I appreciate all you guys. Thank you.
Member Capola.
Thank you. It was a very good presentation today. First of all, I'm excited about the MTEL prep because we had hired so many people who aren't certified, and this would be a great boost for them. And probably it goes to you, but are there any other MTEL preps? This is all for secondary and math. So
but Carrie did mention that we're in the development of other MTEL prep opportunities for the communication and literacy, and we'll expand that. We acknowledge we have a lot of people who are on emergency licenses, students who we're bringing up through the ranks as well, paras who have become teachers who we need to further develop, and so we know we need to expand that.
Okay.
We've started with this, we're working on the communication and literacy, and we will continue to build on that.
Excellent. And I appreciate that, we have added on for the advanced placement class. And the surveys are so important because we have heard for the last few years how they don't feel like they have a voice, the staff, and nobody's listening to what the issues are that they're having in the classroom. So that's really important. And just a shout out to GE. They've been there for so long for us. And I think we should really appreciate it. And as well as all the trades are really getting into encouraging women to get into the trade. So all of that is really exciting. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one follow-up question. The grant for professional development, is that including our paras also? Because you said it was
we
for
could.
teachers.
We could. We have not solidified or delineated the budget precisely yet. We presented what we would like to do, but it's something we can certainly consider, once we sort of get into the weeds.
Yes.
And work with DESE on our budget and how we'll have a monthly meeting with a consultant from DESE to formulate our plan and roll it out. I will add that we did write into this grant and have an endorsed partnership through Boston University. So that could also be a really good lever to support our educators in various ways with content courses in preparation for like elementary licenses in math, which many educators, are challenged with without giving them opportunities to prepare,
Yeah.
so.
It's great, because our paras are really, real vital to
Yeah.
educating our students and helping out, so, thank you, appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for the great presentation, for all the wonderful work throughout the district, our teachers, paras, administrators. Thank you, school committee members, for the questions. Really appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Next item is a request to accept the donation of 5 portable whiteboards from Dr. Peter Meany to Lynn Woods Elementary School. What's the recommendation of the superintendent?
I request to accept, please.
It's the will of the committee.
So moved.
Still move.
A second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Next item is the early college update.
Yes, and so this is brief, because there will be a more formal presentation, later in the spring from Dr. Gardner around early college, the data and how things are going. I asked her to just give you an update with, we put in the Frederick Douglass High School, we have our courses going, and I just wanted you to have an update. Shannon?
Thanks. So we just finished semester 1 and we're embarking on semester 2, so it's a good time to give you an update on our early college programs. I get the honor of looking at all the grades that are coming through, and when I see all the grades coming through, I hear a big kaboom because there are so many students that are earning credits and banking credits. So I feel very proud of them and proud of this update. The programs fall into 3 big categories: the Early College Promise program at SSU, the Frederick Douglass Collegiate Academy, and the Early College Designations at LEHS, LCHS, and LVTI. The Promise students are doing great this year. The program began with 25 students, starting out with a full load of 5 classes. We had a very low number of students withdraw from any course, and 96% of the grades were C or higher. Grades are only one outcome we're concerned with. One goal of the program is to increase students' connection to college and have them form a supportive cohort amongst themselves. Our student advisor, Mrs. Denise Vincerelli, who the students call Ms. V, has been working hard on both supporting students and arranging activities. In the fall, students attended a play at SSU together. They had lunch at City Hall with the mayor, attended by myself, Superintendent Ruggiero, and Deputy Molly Cohen. They also went into Boston and attended the Urban Nutcracker, which I can also say was a great experience. And please stay tuned, as our wonderful Miss V is planning more for semester 2. And again, we're very proud of the students in this program. You should also know about some changes like that we've learned from last year that we added. So now this year, students in that program have received a college advisor, which they didn't have last year. And they also had their own special FAFSA support session at SSU, which was also supported by a North Shore Community College trio advisor, because some of our students also at the end of this program want to go to NSCC as well. We have a part-time team supporting the Promise students that helped bridge them over from the summer to the fall. So they created presentations in the summer to kind of get them together a couple of times, and they helped with an orientation, and they're also there to provide wraparound supports. That's what I have for Early College Promise, and I'll now move on to Frederick Douglass Collegiate Academy. The FDCA, as we call it, is flourishing under the leadership of Principal Heather Fabiano and in partnership with North Shore Community College. Students there also have a very high rate of success in their early college classes, with 85% of students earning C or better. This is a very strong outcome for ninth graders taking 6 credits per semester. At the Frederick Douglass, we also have some great things happening. There's a student council, an art group, and music lessons. And there's also a bus transporting students to sports clubs and all-city band at English High School after school. Behind the scenes of the school, there's also a design team of administrators who meet bi-weekly to develop future plans and goals for FDCA, which follows along with specific goals set out for us in our DESI grant. The members of the design team are Heather Fabiano and me, along with 3 administrators, Walter Stone, Nadir McDonald, and Chris Bednar. We're working on specific goals we set out to for a 4-year plan, and we also work with Jobs for the Future to make sure we complete all the goals, which include a 4-year course plan for the Frederick Douglass, a strong recruitment process, and systems alignment. I want to thank Heather Fabiano for her hard work on her projection for space needs at North Shore Community College. This was an important piece of work that will help North Shore Community College fit us into their future growth plans to really firmly root the Frederick Douglass. We're currently in our recruitment phase, and once again, we are beginning our information sessions and first round lottery at Thurgood Marshall Middle School in consideration of the over-enrollment at English High School. Those information sessions have been communicated by Thurgood Marshall guidance counselors this week to students and families. All right, my next update is the early college designations. So, just to give you a sense of the overall scope of Lynn's early college programs, in English, Classical, and LVTI, we have 613 students participating in early college this spring. When you add the 81 seated at Frederick Douglass and the 6 students in Gateway to College, this brings us to an even 700 students district-wide. The bulk of our early college students are the 613 designation students. This first semester progress was also outstanding. While our schools provide wraparound services protecting that group of students that are vulnerable in these programs, it might be a mistake to take away that the program is struggling, because 90% of students in early college earned a C or higher in their early college classes. And we're so very proud of them because they took on the challenge of advanced coursework and prevailed. They do so well with support from paired LPS teachers and their early college coordinators, Kate Copan, Sarah Cowdell, Derek Edmonds, and Frank Saro, who I can't thank enough. As we move away from pandemic concerns, we have been working on shoring up our systems for early college, which include better recruitment, communication, and systems alignment. We are also looking to provide more career exposures for students. You may have noticed on LPS Facebook that students in the IT pathway visited Akamai Technologies in Cambridge. This visit was made possible by their NSCC professor, Thomas Hare, and gave students a window into technology careers. We are looking to provide more career exposures of that like for students in early college in the future. So the last thing I want to mention is that we have received a significant amount of grant funding for early college designations this year. We have received $425,000 from the state. The money we received is used for coordinator staffing, tutoring, marketing, community outreach, curriculum alignment, curriculum development, co-staff development, and transportation for some of these career type of experiences. We also do expect to receive more funds for early college programming soon as well. And thank you to our friends at the state and our local delegations for their support of early college for those funds. That concludes my update. Please let me know what questions I can answer for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Member Gailey.
Dr. Gardner, I just want to thank you so much for bringing the early college program into Lynn and for flourishing it. I mean, 9th grade students are in college at North Shore. Other students in the higher grades are taking college classes, so when they go to college, they don't have that extra burden. It will cost less. And I really feel it's because of you and all your dedication and hard work, and you're able to communicate and get people working with you. So this program is so successful, and I know the rest of us, and I think I speak for the rest of us, when we have heard so many wonderful things from the state legislators, even our new governor, about our early college program. I just want to thank you. Keep up the
Thanks.
good work.
Thank you, thank you.
Member Dugan, Member Castellanos, and Member Pena.
Just to echo what Member Gately said, being a parent of a child that has been through classical and taken the early college classes, the families too, I know appreciate it. So thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Castellanos.
Dr. Gardner, I'm always just re-inspired every time I hear you talk. Your dedication, your courage, your tenacity, all of it, the way you represent Lynn Public Schools is you're such a valuable asset to us. And for me to sit here to listen to the progresses and what we're doing. As a first generation low income kid, like when I spoke that day at North Shore Community College, like Dr. Gardner was very instrumental in helping me prepare for that speech. And I give a lot of credit to Dr. Gardner and helping me, aim and really deliver that platform. And Dr. Gardner does a lot of work behind the scenes in this district, and I want her. I got to give it to Dr. Gardner and thank you publicly. I will always thank you publicly. I know you don't like it, but but I'm gonna keep doing it until I'm here. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Member Pena.
I just say thank you, Dr. Gardner, for your presentation. And I heard someone mention this is a game changer. This is definitely a game changer. I could just picture the families that wouldn't be able to have those opportunities, and how, this program, this unique program that we have here, definitely helps break that cycle. Kind of like, my colleague Brian, I'm a 5th and 6th low-level generation, low-level Latino. My great-great-grandmother was poor. And just to think of the opportunities that immigrants have nowadays, it's just amazing. It strikes me, you deserve a lot of credit. Thank you for what you've done, and I'm really grateful for that. I can, with deep passion, I tell you thank you. I know what it's like not to have, and I appreciate for the opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gardner, for the presentation and for the great work to you and the whole team working on the early college. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.
Should we take a motion to amend the agenda to move the superintendent's report up?
So
Make a
moved.
motion to move the superintendent's report up.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay. My quote for this meeting is by Maya Angelou. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. First, I want to acknowledge the terrible event that happened on Tuesday evening to one of our Lynn English High School students while working at a local business. As an update, I have spoken to a family member with the use of an interpreter, Guillermo Sinelli, to express our sadness of what happened and to offer support to the family and student during this difficult time. The student is still in the hospital and is being supported there, but Lynn Public Schools and Lynn English High School will also be available to them to help them through this and get him back on track with his education. Yesterday, we welcomed over 2,000 grade 8 students into City Hall Auditorium for the Stop the Violence 8th grade speaker series. This program is put on by a dedicated group of citizens who are looking to make our community safer. The guest speakers were the Honorable Ina Howard Hogan, First Justice of the Lynn District Court, and Thomas Kuntz, Program Manager of Teen Empowerment who spoke to the students around their role in stopping the violence and making our community a safer place for all of us. They also shared their own experiences growing up and how important the choices they made molded who they are now. It was inspirational to listen to and to watch our students engage in this important topic. This week is National School Counseling Week. It is a time that we need to acknowledge the work of the staff who help our students and families during their most difficult times. To our school clinicians hearing this message, I want you to know that we see you. We see you jumping in every day to help support our students, families, and teachers. We see you show up for work with a smile on your face every day, even though sometimes that smile is forced due to exhaustion, sadness, or feeling sick. We see your efforts in lifting up the spirits of all you work with by giving encouragement day in and day out, all day, every day. We see you doing whatever it takes to keep it together and keep going. We hear your enthusiasm and dedication to your work, your compassion for your students, and your empathy for our families. We hear the stress in your voice when you sense your students are struggling. We hear you listening to the pain of others and yet also celebrating accomplishments and progress. We all just want to say thank you. Thank you for showing up, being there, always listening, being kind, being compassionate, caring so much, being so brave, being a school clinician. In a world where we are measured by academic performance and ratings, you are valued beyond measure. Our superintendent-elect and I have been in contact and have met a few times already in preparation for the transition into taking her official role as our superintendent. I have truly enjoyed our meetings together, and I'm looking forward to working with her to move Lynn in a positive direction in our educational work. She will officially be present in our district beginning March 1st, and she will be involved in many meetings, visits, and trainings to begin acclimating to the work LPS has been doing and where it needs to go. I have been continuing my visits to schools to see firsthand the learning and instruction going on in our classrooms. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been able to visit Aborn, Hood, Breed, Classical, Tracy, Lynn Woods, Pickering, and Lynn English. In all cases, I could see the efforts our teachers are putting in on the implementation of the new curriculum resources, the planning of their lessons, and the integration of our district focus of academic discourse. I watched as kindergarten students said hello to each other in 12 different languages. I was also able to see many classrooms of students who work together on the productive struggle in math, science, and language in collaborative groups. It is the best part of my job to be able to interact and observe learning in action. We are always striving to improve and refine the work we do as educators, but there are great things happening in our schools, and I'm looking forward to seeing more as I continue these visits.
Thank you, Superintendent. A motion for executive session.
So moved.
Just if you could read the purpose there.
Yep. Make a motion to enter executive session for contract negotiations with non-union personnel, Howard Greenspan.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes.
I'm going to carry you in.
It's all for show.
Or some pony.
Am I lying?
It's time to go home.
Time to go home. I'm gonna get some rest. I got a 6-hour turnaround.
How about this wonderful student?